Hi North Point family, it's Sean here. We're really excited to start our next devotional series on the topic the Holy Spirit and spiritual gifts. We really feel like it's a really important topic for us to cover, something really relevant in this time. And so we want to go through it. So why are we doing a series on the Holy Spirit and spiritual gifts? Well, we can see that in the context of the church that there's lots of confusion. And people seem to be on a different spectrum with regard to the Holy Spirit and spiritual gifts. Some of them believe that some of the gifts of the Spirit are no longer in operation in the world today. And you have people on the other side of the spectrum who are applying the gifts, but maybe applying it in a way that is unfaithful to the scriptures. And so there's a lot of confusion around it. And what we want to do as a church is to come back to the Bible, the scriptures, and to see what they tell us about the Holy Spirit and the spiritual gifts. After all, Paul, when he wrote 1 Corinthians, in 1 Corinthians 12, when the church had questions about the spiritual gifts, Paul says, "Brothers, I do not want you to be uninformed or ignorant about spiritual gifts." And so we want to pray that as we go through this, that we would not be ignorant, but that we would have a deep conviction from the scriptures on the spiritual gifts. Also, we've seen that some of you have given us some questions around the Holy Spirit and about spiritual gifts, certain of the gifts. And so we'd like to use this as an opportunity to provide just biblical responses to that. And like we said also, it's really important for us as a church as we begin to gather together again in person with Level 1. We really feel like it's a time where many of us can give ourselves to use the gifts that God has given us for our common good and for the glory of Jesus Christ. So in this time, we're going to be covering topics like who is the Holy Spirit, what is the purpose of the Holy Spirit, what are spiritual gifts and what is their purpose, baptism in the Spirit and being filled with the Spirit. Then we'll look at the different gifts that are spoken about in 1 Corinthians 12 and in Romans 12 and in 1 Peter. There we're going to look at things like tongues and prophecy and encouragement and miracles and faith. We want to look at all of these gifts, even the ones that are a bit more contentious, and look at what the Bible teaches us concerning them so that we can trust for faithful application and use of the gifts at North Point City Church. So we'll also be discussing them in life groups over that same week that we're going to be talking about them, and we trust that even in these smaller groups as they discuss, that the Holy Spirit will help us to see many people using their gifts faithfully. So how will we be doing this? We'll be doing one of these topics every week on YouTube, so please look out for them. Take a listen to them, pray, read the scriptures that will be provided with them, and trust God that you yourself will be able to understand the gifts that the Holy Spirit has given you, that He will create in you a desire to earnestly pursue these gifts, and that you would use them for the common good at North Point City Church. And so lastly, here's what we're trusting for as we go through this series. We're trusting that there will be a deep conviction from the Bible concerning the Holy Spirit and the gifts of the Spirit. And our prayer is that the Holy Spirit Himself will work deeply in all of our hearts concerning these gifts, and that there would be such an urgency and an earnest desire to pursue the gifts at our church. And we're also trusting, secondly, that there would be faithful use of the gifts at North Point City Church, that it will be in line with the Bible, and that also it will be in line with the gospel that we've been emphasizing and will continue to emphasize at North Point. And we trust that through this, lastly, that many of you will participate, will increase the participation at North Point City Church of people using their gifts for the common good, for the glory of Jesus, and for the spread of the gospel. So we look forward to starting this series, so please look out for them. There'll be one being posted every week. Please view them, and if you're not a part of a life group, please join one of the groups where there'll be further discussions around that. Or if you have any questions, you're welcome to just post that in the comments section of the videos, and we'll do our best to get back to you on them. So God bless you, and we look forward to going on to this journey with you regarding the Holy Spirit and spiritual gifts. Have a blessed one.